Hello everyone, it's Sloth here, and today we have a very special day because Alchemy was just introduced. And what is the better way to celebrate Alchemy start than to make a Dimir control that uses all the new busted cards and see how it goes? So let's go into the cards because that's probably the most interesting part for you. Let's go from the top. Discover the formula. 6 mana instant and you seek, so you get from your library randomly 3 non-land cards, then those cards get, like, not those cards, all cards in your hand that aren't lands get 1 mana cost reduction. So it's pretty much a card draw as an instant, which is important, that also gives you a big tempo advantage. So that's a pretty good card, and it goes very well with the Geist Channeler. So you can see the cost here is 4 mana colorless, and it's perfectly aligned with this. Geist Channeler, 2 mana, 1/3 creature, which is pretty fine, and 3 toughness is a good blocker. When this comes into battlefield, choose an instant or sorcery in your hand with mana 3 or greater. It perpetually gains this spell cost 2 less to cast, and what it does is pretty much it speeds up your gameplay by a lot, and you can already see that this 2 colorless, it's not colored mana, it's colorless always, goes perfectly with the card choices that we did. So we have this Miss, we have Kindred Denial that we'll go in a second with, we have Memory Deluge, which is even more interesting because this cost reduction is perpetual. It goes for the flashback as well, so it completely changes how this card works. Suddenly you cannot choose, we just draw 2 cards because it's 2 mana cost at the first instance, so it's a bit worse, but you get tempo advantage. However, in the flashback you can cast it for 5 mana, much earlier than the 7 mana that it usually does, and in the end you just got 4 cards as normally. So it's a very interesting one. Anyway, yeah, the full deck is built around this cost reduction, so it always helps. And you also get discounted sweepers. You have 2 mana Ritual of Suit or Shadow Verdict for 3 mana, so you can pretty much play this, and next turn you can Shadow Verdict, which is insane. And against any aggro decks, when you are on the draw, you usually know that you won't be able to cast it because you will be dead already. And with this, you actually can. You chump block the biggest threat with this one, then next turn you sweep everything, and if the enemy had explosive start, he will lose because he has nothing on the board, and nobody really expects like 3 mana sweeper, at least not for now, and even if they expect it, like, they have to play into it. So anyway, for the new cards, we also have, let's go for the Absorb Energy because that's the more interesting one. So it's pretty much a 3 mana counter spell, but if you counter some spell with it, cards in your hand that share a type gets mana reduction, mana cost reduction, so they are 1 cheaper. So for example, if you counter instant, most of your hand is cheaper by 1, and this really helps in the game. So against control it's amazing. Against any other cards it's most likely like a counter spell, but we have some creatures as well, and you know, you can even tweak it and add more creatures so it's more versatile. But even with the Geist Channeler you suddenly start having a net positive effect because it reduces by 2, and this could cost 1 if you counter with Absorb Energy, so suddenly you can cast few things a turn earlier. And also for the Hullbreaker Horror, you will be surprised how much difference does it make to cast it for 5 or 6 mana. So if you absorb it 2 times and suddenly you have 5 mana Horror, man, that's huge. You can play it so quickly, and this always ends the game in 1 turn, and nobody really expects it to come so quickly. So this is actually a pretty good combo that will win you the games. It's not obvious at the first choice, but it's huge. Anyway, back to the cards, we have Kindred Denial, and it's very interesting counter spell that I really like from the design standpoint. So it's counter spell that seeks a card that you count with the same mana cost as the card you countered. So let's say you counter a Collected Company. It costs 4 mana, so suddenly you seek something for 4 mana. And let's see our 4 drops. Counter spell, draw, and here we have Removal and Sweeper. But mostly counter spell, so like 70% or 60% you will get a counter spell. So that's huge card, and if you counter something for 6 mana, you know you will play Discover the Formula, because that's the only card at this cost in your deck. So the deck building options for this are huge, and I really like this card. I think it's very important. However, it's not great if you counter 1-drop. Well, sometimes it can be. You have Blood Chief first, so if you need a removal, you can just counter a 1-drop and be 100% sure you will get removal for this. So it's nearly a tutor in a way, but it really expects you to know how to play. I really like this card. And we also have Key to the Archive, and let's be honest, this isn't perfect card for the deck. You probably shouldn't play it, but you know, we can play all the banned cards like Time Warp, Counterspell, Demonic Tutor, and you will see it in one of the games. So like, come on, who wouldn't want to test this? And you can remove it, but it's pretty fun, and it actually wins games sometimes. So we will see. And yeah, the Unexpected Conversion is the last card, and it's very interesting as well. It goes perfectly with the Geist Channeler, so it's 1 mana in this case. But overall it's 3 mana, draw 2 cards, and then you may exile an instant or sorcery card from your hand. And if you do, you can search your hand, library for any number of those cards with the same name, then you exile them and shuffle. So you pretty much remove this card from your deck if you want, it's optional. And then you seek an instant or sorcery card for each card exiled from your hand this way. So it pretty much cycles all the dead cards from your hand. Of one type, of course. So this is huge because you draw 2 cards, but you also can cycle all the dead cards. So for example, if you are playing against control or some kind of slow non-creature deck, this is a dead draw, this is a dead draw. Most of the removals are dead draw. And with this you can just cycle them into new cards that are useful, and also make sure that you will never draw them, because you don't have this card in your deck for the matchup. So that's huge, and it usually draws you between 3 or 4 cards effectively for 3 mana. It's an amazing card. The only downside is sorcery, so it's harder to play. So that's why the Geist Channeler really helps with it. Okay, and I'm sure you guys want to see the game, so let's go into the gameplay. And those cards are strong, like they are really strong, and you will like them. So yeah, enjoy, and let's have some fun with the alchemy. Alright, so we have removal, we have Key to the Archive, so we will see. This should give us some interesting options, and when the enemy floods us, we can just sweep. We probably play it as a first land though. This one probably the second or third. Okay, and we have some kind of control, but I will just play it. It's better this way. Okay, and the conversion can shine in this matchup, I think. If that's some kind of control, then we want to keep... Okay, it's zombie deck. Alright, so at this point we go for blue, and we keep Harvest Act and see what the enemy does. So I expect a lot of zombies. We have 3 mana, so we need to be careful, because we aren't sure that we hit it at turn 4, so it's probable that we will slow the board a bit, even though, like, with this, killing any creatures below 3 mana cost can seem like a waste for draw possibility. I think we overall want to kill this one, because it slows the clock by a lot. So when this dies, suddenly the enemy really doesn't have any pressure on the board. And even if we miss 1 or the 2 land drops, we should be fine. And that's what I expect, to be honest. Then the Hive will be a problem, so we need to leave 1 of the Harvest Act. We shouldn't use it. So that will be like our late game, that we kill this thing after we sweep the board. So we need the Key to the Archive, so that's pretty fine. If we hit 4 mana, we can use this, and we can start drawing pretty good cards. And with the 2 mana of any combination, we should be able to do it. The tap lands hurt though. But you know, that's the part of the game. So what can we get? Time Warp would be sweet. Counterspell as well. And Tutor would be probably at some point game winning. I don't know what we will do, we take it with it, but we will take it and it will win us the game. Doomblade isn't great now. If we get Doomblade, I will be sad. So 1 damage. So instead of being on like 16, I believe, because no, 14, because it would sweep on their turn as well. Okay, so we will have a lot of archives, a lot of mana, and it's good that the enemy has slow round, because then we can play those and start using the cool stuff. And this is the reason this is in the deck, so you know, it's not your typical control stuff, and it's maybe not perfect because it's not a win condition most of the time, so it helps, but it's not winning you the game outright. So in the end it's more of a mana acceleration with interesting upside and pretty fun card. Okay, so that's fine. Whenever you cast a zombie spore, create a token, but it doesn't have haste. So we play this, then the enemy makes huge board, then we sweep it. And we should be fine. So hit to the archive. And wow, we can actually choose from the cards. I wasn't aware of this. So we don't need this. Their whole deck is below the 3 mana. I will take the tutor. And what do we discard? I think Blood Chief first. And let's play land, because that will be useful. Wow, first time to play Demonic Tutor in history of MTG Arena. Wow. And this is the reason why I like this card already. Maybe it's not always very competitive, but the fact that you can start having fun with all those cards is worth it. It's about the fun after all. Okay. Smart. The enemy knows what's coming. Okay, and we could use it, but it's not really helpful in any way. So let's do it like this. Go here. And we got a lot of HP, but well, we didn't want to lose. Okay, and for Demonic Tutor, what can we get? I think we use it next turn. So for now we use Ritual, and suddenly we have 2 mana Sweeper, which is amazing, because we can play Sweeper and something else. And this is something we will be needing. He can turn the Hive, but it's still, we are at still 5 HP. And we can even use Tutor to get some life gain. I think we should have some. Or maybe not in this version, because I had the Parasitic Grasp for a moment, but I think it's not in this version of the deck. So what can we get? We probably get some counter spell. Or we can even get the 6 mana draw 3 cards. Okay, that's very good for us. Actually, I would consider this a misplay from the enemy. So, what do we want to get? We have 5 mana. So, you know what? Let's go for it. And let's draft something cool. Sure? I think that's quite good. So, this one is needed. Believe or not, no, we will get rid of this one. So it's cheaper, but at the same time we need this for Beholder, and this one is better because it doesn't trigger the Massacre, and we have a lot of mana. So that was the point. And the enemy doesn't see what we draft because it's like digital thing. So let's kill it, all according to plan. And as you can see, those keys actually really help this game. So those 2 cards will win the game outright. Because our only problem is HP right now. So if we play this, then we can use the we can actually use the tutor for the second instant. Wow, that's just busted. So let's go. And we won't show the enemy that we have this combo. Oh my god, I didn't think of this. So we actually can win the game in 2 turns. Okay, I thought it's just a meme, but this card is really winning this game. So I'm pretty sure the enemy is dead, because they cannot disturb our hand, and they cannot kill us this turn. And that's all she wrote. Wow. That's the first game ever with Demonic Tutor, Approach of the Second Sun, and tutoring the second instant only in one turn. I'm just speechless, as you can hear. Okay, Alchemy is really starting to be fun. And I think I will play this card more often than I would expect. And you don't really need like all the mana. You can bank on it because most deck can handle the artifacts. So yeah, and you can, I think, decline the draft. Draft a card to the... Oh, you have to draft, but the fact that you can choose one of the cards is amazing. So I would love to show you this, but let's go with the correct way. Approach of the Second Sun. And suddenly we won. Best game ever. I love the Alchemy. That's the format. Good, this is a good draw. We are going first, so let's go for it. We have a discount creature. Like that's the one. I didn't want full control, my friend. So the question is what we discount, and that's something I'm not yet sure of. However, I'm sure that we will play it. So I think we go for this. It draws 2 cards, and we probably next turn counter something with this. So let's go like this. And we have a blocker, so that's also very useful. Okay. This is red deck, so I won't be attacking. It's not like we will kill them without the Hullbreaker. Yep. So, do we want to counter it? I think we do. It also helps our Hullbreaker get better, so it's only 6 mana right now. Okay, and what do we do now? We got the tap land, which isn't perfect. I guess we just play it. We don't have any sorcery for 1 mana, so we can do it like this. Okay, and I left the open mana so the enemy thinks that we might do something. So it changes their play a bit. Alright, so we got those 2 cards, and they are pretty fine. We got a sweeper, which is amazing. And I think we say go. So the only problem is the Moxus, that we need to be careful all the time. And Krenko probably would be the next step for the enemy. Okay, so we could counter it, but then he has 4 mana open, and that's not what we want. Especially that we can bounce at the end step the War Chief, so he needs to replay it for the full cost. And if he does it, then he cannot play any other big goblin, if we counter it. So double Matron. That's not great, but we have to get rid of it somehow. At this point I would really like to have a cheap counter spell, to be honest, so maybe the counter spell was better choice. Okay. This one is a bit scary though. So what can we do? I don't think he will want to sacrifice, because he can sacrifice Goblin in response to bouncing it. But if he does it, then he loses the Goblin. So then we'll both lose card. I don't want to sweep, because then the enemy can play land, Muxus and kill us, so we need to be careful. Okay, so this served as a removal. And thanks to the absorb energy we have a 6 mana Hullbreaker, which is amazing because nobody expects a 6 mana Hullbreaker horror, so they won't be prepared for it. If they don't play Muxus and just slow roll, of course they won't, because like why would you? Okay, and it's 6 mana, so we do know what we will draw when we counter it, and we will draw the instant that draws 3 cards and makes the rest cheaper, and I would really like this. So, thank you. And that's the power of seeking. You can decide what cards you will get. So I like the fact that it contributes to, you know, like the gameplay, and I could say even skill to the game. And deck building is also more interesting, because you can, for example, have 2 cards that have 5 mana each, and then yeah, you have 50% of drawing exactly what you know you will draw. So this can then non-land get, so new cards that you draw from it also gets cheaper. Okay, so this is something else. I think we still allow it. Yeah, it doesn't have haste, so we just use the Hullbreaker. And Hullbreaker into Ritual, I think. If we draw land. And we draw up. I won't be attacking. Well, I probably should, but I think we just win this game anyway. And we want to return this. We could also return this one, but I'm more concerned about his mana right now. Okay. And we will probably dismiss what he plays, then bounce Krenko. So, right now he cannot do anything. Like, sure, you have 1 Goblin, and thanks to this card we still have extreme amount of options. So thanks to this counter spell it gave us so much value. And this is also very good, but let's wait for the enemy. I want to see what he does. And guys, remember, it all came together because this one was discounted by 1 turn, so we can play it 1 turn earlier than normally, thanks to the absorb energy. So even the creature mode isn't really wasted on us, depending on the draw. 6. The enemy is right now going for it, and we will try. Like, probably I could bounce it, but let's make the game a bit more interesting. I want to see the new cards, so let's do it like this, just so you guys can see the idea behind all this new stuff. And I will take this so it's discounted, and we actually can do it. I mostly do it to have all the blue mana, because we need a lot of blue mana, so that's a bit easier. So yeah, this part of the game is for you guys, so you can see the new cards in action. And let's do it like this. We could use the key, but we have so many options right now that I prefer to do it this way. At the end step we can draw 5 cards and have everything discounted. So it's really hard to beat for any kind of goblin deck. Okay? And you know what? I will even go for it. I think. Maybe. Okay, let's go for this. So we don't die this turn. Enemy makes some creatures and that's it. And then he attacks with everything and we just block. And at our turn we have for 4 mana this amazing thing. And let's draw first, because we can draw an untapped land. Okay, and suddenly everything we have in the hand is much cheaper, except the lands, of course. So we do want what? We have to play the land. We use the Raska on Krenko. We don't attack because it's waste of time, and we just sweep the board. And all of this was possible because of the discount, so suddenly our hand is pretty dynamic. Yep, and even without the Hullbreaker, as you can see, that was like totally enough to dominate the enemy. And just as a reminder, we got this card because we blocked 6 mana drop with the Kindred Denial, because we wanted value into the hand. So I like the synergy of this deck, and Absorb Energy was due to Hullbreaker going one turn earlier. It's all coming together. Okay, so we are going first with this hand, and it's pretty fine, I would say. And the enemy is like in the think tank with some cool sleeves, I must say. So, what the plan is, we probably play it for 6 most of the time with Absorb Energy. And if the enemy has any kind of instance, that's even better. So we need to think when Miss Vanellope will actually start playing. And it just happened. So let's go for Island. You generally want to go for the sure lands first, then you see what you draw and what you want to play. Probably this will be black. And Field of Ruin needs to help us fix our mana a bit. Okay, so this will be a live game deck. So I do think we play it on black, because then when they play creature we can do it on the end step, the board is clear, and we can play this and Absorb Energy. Yeah, it doesn't extremely matter. It's possible they have second creature? No. So they must have drawn it just this time, if they didn't play it at turn 1. Okay, so everything so far as expected, and this will be 6 mana, which might be very important later. We will see. Yeah, I think this one is important. It doesn't seem like a huge deal, but we cannot counter all the life gain they have, and suddenly we need a sweeper with this. And they don't seem to have the Ajani, because they didn't play anything like this, and last turn it would be better to play Ajani than Speaker of Heavens if they had it. Okay, this one doesn't do anything really, which is great for us. In this situation we don't want to play the Geist Channel, we will have time later. And we are very soon playing the Hullbreaker Horror, so I must say Absorb Energy really helps with this. 4-drop. Yes, our 4-drops are actually amazing. That's exactly what we want to draw most of the time. Good. I'm starting to love this card. It's very often such a flexible card. We aren't pressured for life, so I won't play it this turn. If we had low HP, I would play it just to be a blocker. But the enemy had such a lackluster start that we are at 16 HP, and I would prefer 6 cards. Okay, much better. And you know what? We will do it. We will use the new cards, and you will see how amazing they are. No, not the Hullbreaker Horror. We will just go for it. I'm already loving this turn. This will be amazing. And if future decks that will be built in Alchemy can get the sorcery back, it's pretty much 2 mana, draw 3 cards and make everything cheaper that you can get from the graveyard. It's amazing. So cards like Flood the Memories, or like all the cards that get instant from the graveyard suddenly became extremely good. So I'm pretty sure there will be decks like this very soon. And maybe we can make even one. Like this Perpetual thing is huge. And this will be 5 mana. A Hullbreaker Horror that actually is 4 mana. I think it's a bluff, so let's go for it. Yep, it was. So we could play it, but we are for the big turns, guys. And I would normally play the Blood Chief first, but I want not to scare the enemy, because I don't want him to scoop. I want to show you guys how much power those new cards have. Like I'm starting to like it. Together with the Geist Channelers, this card is really good. We can kill it in many ways, so I don't care. Like, do whatever you want, man. We will do our thing, and it will be amazing. You will love it. I hope they don't scoop when they see the amount of cards that we have.
Prepare for battle.
Nice, it's indestructible right now. which is a good choice, of course. That's the prime target that we normally want to kill. And we are approaching the big turn, guys. Prepare, take your seats, and let's go. So first of all, we want as many cards as possible in our hand, so go. And now let's play this. And suddenly our hand is pretty darn amazing. So, and we have 5 mana Hullbreacher Horror. Wow. The nerd inside of me is extremely happy right now. So, what can we do? Let's go for the Blood Chief first, I would say. And just a moment, what was it? Okay, so we can play it for 3, so it works with a kicker as well. And we got 0 and this. So, unfortunately the enemy gets 1 HP, which I don't know how we survive. We could play this, but we have everything discounted very nicely. Joke. Of course we don't. We can get it better. Oh, we cannot target the Into the Roil because it has to have 3 mana or greater. So I think at this point we will just go for the dismiss. Because look how cheap this hand is. For a control deck it really helps with the control aspect. And we have pretty much all the plays that we want. We can even bounce and dismiss at the same turn. And you also get the text, so we can see how much discounted it is. So if this was a 5 mana card, it would still be 2 mana. So this archetype encourage a lot of 5 mana and 6 mana cards, because suddenly there are 3 or 4 drops, and that's pretty amazing. So we can, oh man, we can block both, because why not? And we can even bounce it to replay it. So that's a cute little trick, and you don't lose tempo for this at all. Yeah, so let's go for the bounce spell on the Gideon. This way they need to replay it next turn. And guess what? We are waiting. Oh man, this deck is starting to be really fun, and I'm starting to really like this card. I thought it's a bit overpriced, but with this it's just extremely cool. I would like my 4-drop, please. Let's hope for Dismiss or another Denial. Oh, sorry, it's 3 mana. Sure, Absorb Energy is even better. If you could play an instant, I would be extremely grateful, but probably you won't. Let's go for the 3 mana Dismiss. And now you need to manage cards, because each one of those cards is a bit different now. So, even though you remember how scary the board was, we just outvalue it so hardcore. We didn't even play the horror that we could. But yeah, I didn't want the enemy to scoop before we show the value of this card. So the game-winning play outside of the horror, that was obviously the winning play as well. This, together with Geist Channeler and the discount that you get from this on all the hand, really speeds you up. And you can see it's not like we could empty our hand anyway. We had 7 mana play here, 7 here, so 14, 19 mana with the counter spell. So we had 25 mana to play. So any discount we get is just extremely good, and this draws into next card. So in heavy control decks, this just gives value, not only tempo.
With